Good evening and welcome to On the Record, I24 News' new in-depth interview show. Every week, I'll be speaking with key experts and decision makers from Israel and around the region on the core issues concerning the Middle East. It's an honor to introduce my guest tonight, Khosro Isfahani. Isfahani is a senior research analyst at the National Union for Democracy in Iran and co-hosts the IranWatch podcast. Before that, he was a journalist and human rights defender in Tehran, where he lived until 2021. Khosro Isfahani, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
For having me.
So, look, let's dive straight into it. Nationwide protests in Iran have now entered their third week, and the level of brutality is really surpassing all expectations. According to various reports, we're already hearing thousands of killed protesters from the brutal crackdown of government forces. What are you hearing from your contacts on the ground? What is happening right now in the streets of Iran?
So what we are hearing is a brutal crackdown. The videos that are coming out of Iran show morgues packed with bodies. In one incident, they transferred bodies to a hospital with a pickup truck and dumped them in front of the families and told them, go find yours, as in go search between the dead bodies and find the one that belonged to your loved one. People, when they are trying to bury their loved ones, they are being beaten up by the regime. When the bodies are being released, they are demanding money. They are demanding money to release the body under this is the cost for the bullets that killed your loved one. This is the level of brutality that we are seeing from the regime, and it's not coming as a surprise. You have watched the Iran space yourself for a very long time. You know what the Islamic Republic is capable of. We are not surprised by that, but Iranians are showing unparalleled resistance and bravery on the street.
Now, we're already in days of a nationwide internet blackout, so obviously there is much less footage coming out of Iran, so the world isn't exposed as much as to what's going on, but I would imagine that this also hinders the ability of the protesters to organize and contact among themselves. How much of a factor is this internet shutdown?
So this internet shutdown has a double-edged impact on the protests. As you mentioned, we are getting less and less videos moving forward since this blackout started 140 hours ago. It's terrifying. People are being killed. We have loved ones in Iran, and we cannot even hear if they are alive or not. This is what the regime is doing to the people. Yes, this blackout has hampered the transfer of information out of the country, but people are still risking their lives. They're using Starlink kits that have been smuggled into the country to send out videos. But in addition to that, some brave Iranians are taking themselves to the border areas where they smuggle the information out of the country. Iranians are risking everything. They are risking everything to get their voice heard by world leaders. At the same time, yes, it has an effect on the Iranian protesters' ability to organize rallies, as in we are going to meet at this hour tomorrow on that street. But at the same time, people are still showing up on the streets. They are not hiding, they are not going away. And the removal of the coordination effect from inside has led to the protests spreading across the country. Every spot in the nation, there is an uprising. And more importantly, in this cycle, we have a significant trump card. Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi has stepped in, is leading the protest. He's prepared, he's offering an alternative. And people in Iran are chanting his name every time that they are going on the street.
So on Reza Pahlavi, there are, obviously you hear in many of the videos that were coming out before the blackout, really his name being prominent, and also his calls for action really being answered beginning last Thursday. Really, that's when you saw the protests move up to the next level. But there are those voices, Iranians, who are saying that Pahlavi, he's been living in exile for 47 years. He is not connected to the country. How can he become the leader of a future Iran if indeed these protests lead to the fall of the Islamic Republic?
There are multiple elements here at play. One, this man for the past 5 decades, yes, he has had to live in exile, but he has always stood very clear, stated his principles without wavering. He never made a deal with the Islamic Republic. He never was part of this regime. He never bent backwards to keep this regime in power, like literally almost every other prominent figure that you have heard their names in the news. This man have always had very clear principles. Human rights for all Iranians, a secular democracy that grants citizen rights to everyone, preserving Iran's national territory. That's very clear, that's very simple, and every Iranian wants that. Right now, there is a running joke in the country that those who are monarchists are chanting Javid Shah, long live the king, and those who want a republic are chanting how louder Supreme Leader Khamenei because Pahlavi is returning. Because Iranians in the country know that this man is not going to make a compromise. He's not going to let the Islamic Republic survive. He's not going to let this regime kill and continue killing innocent Iranians. He's not going to let this regime export terrorism. They have heard his clear message and they are heeding it. They are responding to that clear message. And it's trust. People can trust him. He's honest. He's decent. That's a very rare phenomenon in the political space. Both of us have worked in these spaces for many, many years. I've been doing this since I was 18. As a literally profession, I have been a professional activist. We have seen all shades of politicians. This man is different. He is decent. That commands respect. That commands trust. That's what brings Iranians to the streets.
So what you outlined right now is the vision of Reza Pahlavi in the scenario in which the regime falls as a result of these protests. But let's look at the, perhaps until now, the more likely situation or the current situation where the regime is still in power. What is there a scenario where the regime survives the protests and continues to contain the unrest? I mean, how adaptable is the Islamic Republic in maintaining such a dynamic?
So 2 points. One, there are charlatans walking in the streets of Western capitals promising people that the Islamic Republic can be reformed. They have been promising people around the world for 2 decades that the regime is going to change its behavior. It has never done that. We have been killed on the streets of Iran. I have buried loved ones. I have been beaten up on those streets. The regime has never changed. It's not going to change. That's a delusion. That's a lie. This regime is not going to adopt. You as an Israeli have seen the direct fruit of this lie. The October 7 terror attack was brought to us by this terrorist regime, the regime that enabled Hamas. And it was enabled by reformists that were in power, empowered the regime, brought money in, provided it with a shelter, with a shelf, to hide its true face for years, to sell oil, to export terrorism. The Islamic Republic is not going to change. We are seeing that every day that this regime is in power. It's going to claim innocent lives, Iranian lives, Israeli lives, Lebanese lives, Syrians, Iraqis, Yemenis, around the world. How many Americans have been killed by the Islamic Republic? Enough is enough. We are done. This regime has got to go. But more importantly, Iranians have risen up again and again. We rose up The first protest movement that I attended, I was 8. My dad, a former political prisoner, thought it's a good idea to take his 8-year-old son to a protest. I started chanting death to the dictator then. We were demanding just a slight change to the Islamic Republic's media rules. They didn't give us that. In 2009, we elected an insider of the Islamic Republic as the new president. The Islamic Republic didn't even was willing to concede that. In 2016 and 17, we rose up over economic issues. They didn't listen. In 2019, we did the same. People have been chanting that reformist hardliners, it's game over for all of you, and we are done. But the regime didn't listen. In 2022, we rose up again. People chanted woman life freedom, equality for all, normal standards of life and reincorporation in the world community, and freedom, political and religious freedom. No one listened. The vision was beautiful. It is a very clear vision for the future of Iran, but that was not enough for uniting the whole nation. Right now, people are back on the streets with a spear in their hearts. They are ready to take back their homeland, and they are going to do that. Nothing is going to stop this nation. When a nation rises up, demands its homeland, it's going to achieve it. It's a matter of when, not if. Iranians have risen up. The world can catch up with them now and stop this massacre. You mentioned 12,000 people have been killed already. Some sources are putting the number at 20,000. How many more of our loved ones should die until the war here? The other day, an Iranian protester took a sign to the street, an old man. 2 words were on it, 2 words, Trump, help. Trump, help. That's very simple. And the US president, the world community can help us to end this nightmare. And it's time. How long are we going to wait? I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. We are all exhausted. It's time to end this nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Look, Khosro, there's no denying the atmosphere and the zeal and the utter bravery of these protesters who, once again, I mean, you described waves and waves of protests that didn't achieve the goal of removing the Islamic Republic. Now you say this has become more widespread than ever. But you also touched on the demand or the request for external intervention. And I think that is something that is also a bit different than what we've seen in previous waves of unrest. Now, there is a scenario where the United States gets involved militarily, and then Iran responds by attacking Israel. Israel will have to retaliate in a way that could perhaps disperse the streets from protesters. Now, this scenario kind of sounds counterproductive to the goal of the protesters in the street. So how can external intervention indeed help the protesters rather than harm their cause?
I'm not here to prescribe what would be the best type of military operation or intervention on behalf of the United States. The US president has the best military and security minds at his disposal. I'm in no position to advise him on these things. But I want to remind your audience that when Donald Trump, during his first term, took out Qasem Soleimani in that glorious targeted killing operation, Iranians celebrated that. We have renamed a national food cutlet after that operation. Mm-hmm. Every year on the anniversary of Soleimani being killed, people in and out of Iran make that food. During the 12-day war, our brothers and sisters, brave warriors of the IDF, took dozens and dozens of IRGC commanders out. We celebrated every and each of those operations. Those people had Iranian blood on their hand. We have been thankful to everyone who has fought this regime by our side. That's what we are calling for. Iranians in the country are calling for that. People have started renaming streets after President Trump. We are fed up. We are done. We need aid to overthrow the Islamic Republic. The other day, we received testimonies from Iran, people risking their lives to send these testimonies out, that the person was telling us that we have sacrificed everything. We have sacrificed everything, and we are still on the streets with empty hands. We want this regime gone, but empty hands are not enough. We need help. We need help now, and it needs to come now.
Look, Khosro, this help that you're talking about, that you're calling for, and you're not alone in this call, so far it's been taken up by a handful of governments, not really something substantial, except for the American response, specifically on the part of President Trump. But what we're not seeing is widespread support on the streets of Western capitals in favor of the Iranian people, unlike what we saw during the war in Gaza. What is your explanation for this?
There are a bunch of lunatics living in the West, hating the guts of Western civilization, and preferring to side with a genocidal terrorist organization like Hamas. These lunatics, for 2 years, were on the streets repeating talking points of a terrorist organization that killed innocent Israelis, raped women, killed children. They were on the streets chanting Hamas slogans. They were chanting in favor of erasing Israel off the face of the earth. They were chanting what the Islamic Republic has been calling for. Where are these lunatics? Where are these useful idiots? What are they doing right now? Where innocent Iranians are sacrificing their lives for liberty. Where are they? Innocent Iranians with empty hands, facing guns and bullets. And these lunatics are sitting silent in the West. They are doing nothing because they are nothing. They have done nothing in their lives. They are spoiled brats who live in freedom, in prosperity, and don't know what they even have. They are a bunch of brats, useful idiots. They are nothing. They are going to be irrelevant in human history. We are beyond looking at them for help. But the world is waking up. The world after October 7 woke up. Iranians have been awake for decades. We have been fighting Islamist fascism for 4 decades. How many loved ones I have to bury until we are done. The world got to catch up. These useful idiots got to catch up. If they don't, the wave that is rising right now, it's rising in the heart of every Iranian. We are going to go past all of these useful idiots. This is a historic moment. This is when the tide turns. They can ignore us. They can sit in silence in the comfort of Western capitals, using their best of the best that has humanity produced, sipping their matchas and lattes, and laugh at Iranians who are fighting for freedom. But we are going to take back our homeland, and the tide is turning.
Khosro, there's an ocean between us, but I can feel your emotion as if you're sitting right here next to me. And on that, you left Tehran just 4 or 5 years ago. If indeed this unrest, these protests manage to achieve this goal that you hope for of toppling the Islamic Republic, do you see yourself returning to Iran to live there?
Iranians have that dream. Many Iranians have had that dream for a very long time. The other night, I was at this small gathering before these protests started. And this young gentleman came up to me, and he was telling me that he knows that he's going to see the fall of the Islamic Republic during his lifetime. We all know that it's going to happen. But what he was worried about is that whether his elderly father is going to see the fall of the Islamic Republic as well or not. That's the fear that Iranians hold in their hearts. In 2022, when Iranians rose up during the Women Life Freedom protests, on the 40th day of that protest movement, my dad died. I couldn't even go back to Iran to bury him. One of the things that I regret in life is that he is not here to see the fall of the Islamic Republic, a regime that he fought against even before the Ayatollah took power. My dad was a leftist activist. Before the revolution succeeded, he believed that Pahlavi's remaining in power would be way better than letting these murderous Islamists take over. No one listened to him. After the revolution, he was jailed for 4 years. He was tortured. He saw friends and comrades being buried in mass executions. People were killed in thousands, and their bodies were dumped in mass graves. He saw all of that, and still fought against this regime until he took his last breath. We have lived that. Iranians have been fighting that fight for 4 decades. Iranians now, with empty hands, see themselves in a position of power that they are offering amnesty. That's where Iranians are. This wave is unstoppable. It's going to reach the end. It's happening.
Khosro, this is indeed a pivotal moment for Iran right now, and I can say personally, and I can, the majority of Israelis, vast majority of Israelis, I can say with confidence, support your cause and hope for the same outcome that you all hope for. Now, having said that, we have to move to the last part of our show. This is the rapid fire segment. I'm going to show you 3 pictures, and briefly, if you will, tell me the first thing that comes into your mind. So the first picture, this is Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian.
Vermin, no backbone, nothing, nothingness. This man has done nothing in his life. His point of pride is forcing mandatory hijab, beating up women. That's what brought him to power. He is just the footman to the supreme leader. He is nothing. He will be nothing.
The next picture, a picture that has already become famous. This is an Iranian woman lighting a cigarette with the picture of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Sister. Iranian women, our sisters, have bled on the front line of this fight all these years. They have been on the front line. The other night, I got a testimony from an Iranian protester that 3 old ladies were on the front line of a rally. We tried to ask them to go behind, stand behind us. You're old, you're going to get injured. They said, yes, we are old. Our lives are less valuable than you, the youth. Let us die, not you. Iranian women, these mothers, sisters, comrades have been on the front line always. They are going to win this fight.
And the last picture, these are Iranian worshippers sitting under the portraits of IRGC General Bassem Foshan from the right, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, and Nasrallah's successor Hashem Safiuddin, who were all killed in Israeli strikes.
We have a name for all those slain commanders. As I mentioned earlier, we call them cutlets because we want them minced into meat and dead. You can stand with them, but you can end up with them as well. There is time, repent, return to the people. We are offering amnesty. Choose life over death. This is your last chance.
Khosro Isfahani, you're not there in the streets of Tehran, but your voice and emotion are echoing I think, across the airwaves right now, and they're definitely reaching here in Tel Aviv. I want to thank you very much for your time and for your insight and for sharing what is clearly a very personal and emotional time for you, for all Iranians. And once again, all we can say from here is we wish you all the luck, that you succeed in your rightful cause, and that the protesters manage to protect themselves as much as they can in the face of this brutal crackdown. That is all the time we have this week. I want to thank you again, Khosro Isfahani, for your time and interesting insight. Join us again next week here at On the Record. You can find today's episode and all previous shows on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you.